concept behind the guy with the TV head is a little bit of a commentary about our relationship to technology and how we're kind of allowing it to drive us around and control us, and we're almost merging with it, kind of becoming like cyborgs. And maybe we really need to reflect on whether we want to be that driven by technology, that controlled, and losing our sense of ourself or our consciousness. And the comparison between that and nature and the plant in the video, and you know, how we can find a balance between that. I once read a book, a sci-fi book called The Star Maker by Olaf Stapledon, and a fascinating book, one of my favorite books. And in this book, he describes the story of this man who, it starts off where he's sitting on a hill and he's just reflecting about his life and the universe and his family and his future and his past. And then all of a sudden he realizes that his body he feels himself lifting off from where he was sitting, except that his body, he looks down and he sees his body is still there. And so he starts to kind of travel through space, and at some point he leaves the atmosphere of the Earth, and he realizes that he can start to control where he's going in some way through his consciousness. And so he starts to be attracted to this planet, and he looks at it, he says, you know, it kind of looks like, he calls it the other Earth, because it looks like Earth. And he goes into the atmosphere of the planet, and the people there look like the people on the Earth, only they've developed slightly different senses that are primary. So their primary senses are taste and smell versus ours that are visual. So they have these prejudices that are based on how somebody smells, or, you know, God is the ultimate in tasty on this planet. So anyway, he starts to experience, he kind of enters in this sci-fi way. He enters the body of this man, this other man who's lives on the other Earth, and he starts to experience the Earth through this man's body, and they start to be able to communicate and have this dialogue somehow. And he learns and he sees through his experience that the people on this planet are suffering through a very similar spiritual crisis that we are on our planet. And there's an imbalance between technology and spirituality and consciousness. And on this planet, the government is giving people these little devices that they can put in their hands, and they can basically lie down and they can spend days, weeks, or sometimes even months or years having these virtual experiences and basically living through these devices. And if you've ever seen the movie The Matrix, it might sound kind of eerily familiar. And this book was written a very long time ago, I think the early 1900s. And so there's this imbalance, and they don't know what to do. And he actually ends up traveling with, the two of them get together, and then they take off and they go to all these other planets, and together they're traveling through time and space, you know, back to the first universe and the last universe, and they're realizing that all of these universes and the galaxies and all this stuff are having that similar crisis. You know, a lot of times it comes down to our consciousness, our ability to connect through a spiritual sense or a higher sense versus just living through technology. So in the High on Love video, we're kind of exploring that concept of what is that fine line between us becoming too connected to technology, living inside of our phones, our computer screens, in this virtual reality, versus really connecting to one another and experiencing love, experiencing unconditional love, experiencing adventure and fun, but in a way that has something more grounded, something more connected to the earth, connected to nature, the plants, versus simply through just technology. And so it's playing with that concept and asking us to really look at how high we can get with the concept of love and the presence of love and our ability to use love to engage us instead of just technology.